Hey guys, welcome to PewTube 2019. I'm not counting episodes, I don't know what episode we're on now. But first one of the new year that's back at home, now no longer up in Canada. Did obviously have a blast up with the Paddy Crane. Missing all my folks from up there. But getting now back into the room where all the toys are so I can start doing a little bit more stuff about props again. But just as sort of a heads up for what's coming up, I am still working on my Ohio State pyrotechnics license, trying to track down what I need to be able to get that in order, which will let me do a little more gun wrangling locally and do the Theatrical Firearms workshop somewhere in this state. And in the meantime, I'm also applying to a number of the regional workshops in the area, so hopefully I'll be able to start doing some more of this stuff around there and start working this kind of Midwest corridor of the regional workshops here and get out and play a little bit more. But today what I wanted to talk about was the Smith & Wesson M&P series pistols. These have been quite popular since they came out. Oh gosh, what is it? You know what? I could guess, but I'd probably be off by a couple of years, so I'm just going to look it up later, and I will write it right there. Yeah, that's what year this came out. Anyway, so the M&P, I mean, it's as with most popular types, it's available in a variety of calibers. But we've got our standard full size. There's a couple of other variations now, though, and it's become quite a family. So I wanted to talk about what we have of those in terms of props. I will say though, this is one that I really enjoy the ergonomics of this. I basically learned to shoot on a Steyr M40, and this has some of the things that I liked about that. There's replaceable backstrap grips that come with these, so you can kind of make sure that it fits your palm properly. It's not too big, too small. Excuse me. And they do come with the standard rail, which my Steyr did not back when I got those on the older generation, unfortunately. But you've got your full size. You've also got your M&P9c or 40c, or but basically the compact version as well, which is a double stack concealed carry option. And then I think one of the later additions to the family was the M&P Shield, which is the single stack concealed carry option. This particular one has the built-in laser sight. They don't all, but this is about I think it's less than an inch thick. So this is really nice and comfy for wear. But mostly what I'm going to be talking about today is the M&P9c, because that is one of the only ones that you can get in blank fire. Now, it's hard to get because, as with all the Umarex models, unfortunately, nobody's importing them to the US anymore. But if you have a European source, or for anybody who's watching this who's over in Europe where you're able to get those, this is probably one of my favorite blank guns out there right now. This is the Umarex M&P9c. Now this is it's pretty standard 9mm PAK front vent. Comes with a little gas attachment-y thing. A double stack magazine. It's all fairly standard. And then side by side with that we have this would be a gas blowback version of the M&P9c. Now in terms of differences, because for film work it can be really useful to be able to double things, and that does require them to look fairly similar. These are a pretty decent match. The most obvious, readily apparent difference is that they've added this white to the sort of engraving in the slide. I've seen that on some of the versions and not on all. I'm not sure exactly what that denotes or why they do it sometimes and not other times. But if you really are not a fan of that, you could always kind of black this out. Or alternately, because this gas blowback one, it'd be really easy to put some white paint in that space and just wipe it off the surface, so that you could get that same kind of Smith & Wesson logo and the M&P thing, M&P9c in white. Now they are a little different on the markings. The gas blowback has the stainless marking. This one does not. And then on the other side, the gas blowback has the Smith & Wesson Springfield MA up here on the slide. This one does not. This one Umarex made in Germany. This one's made in Taiwan. The gas blowback has the caution capable of firing with magazine removed, which the real ones generally do, whereas the Umarex blank fire has the serial number and caliber 9mm PAK, etc., etc. You might be able to see here the sights are a little bit different as well. So this would be the Cybergun, has nice clear sights. Again, the idea is you'd actually be aiming this one, whereas the Umarex It's a blank gun. You're not really going to be aiming it most of the time. They didn't bother painting the sights or anything. Be easy to hit that with a little bit of white though, and touch it up a bit, make it look a little better. But pretty darn similar. The extended magazine release thing there, the M&P models are available with a number of different magazine options that include an extended or a flush or with this sort of little grip add-on. Now this is something I haven't tried it yet, but I'm willing to bet I could modify the magazine base plate on this to match. I did that with one of the Bruni Mini Gap sort of compact Glock versions, and it works just fine with a magazine base plate that I got off eBay or whatever. And while the blank firing magazines are not standard width, the plates are. I believe, at least they were on the other one, and it removes in the normal way. You just push down this pin, and you can slide this out. So whether it's a matter of replacing this or of just gluing part to the outside, if I really wanted these to match, I probably could. So yeah, here's that example of that Bruni Mini Gap magazine alteration. So it's sort of the before where it's flush. Yeah, I think this one I actually had to kind of epoxy it onto the other little pierce grip. But before, and I hate this recessed magazine release here, and after. So you can see it, you know, it's doable. Gives you a little place to put the pinky, whereas without that, you just have to kind of wrap it underneath. Funny note about these Glocks too, one of the interesting side effects of having Glock completely shut down imports is just prices are ridiculous with scarcity. You know, supply and demand. I recently saw one of these Zeraki 917s, which to my mind are probably the best of the Glock replica blank fires out there. So yeah, recently on eBay, one of these went for just shy of $500 shipped, which is probably more than twice what it would be if you could actually just still import them and pay the exchange rate for you know, whatever they cost in the Turkey that these are made, something like that. Anyway, supply and demand, that's the way it goes. Now in terms of gas blowback, there's a couple different brands that do the M&P models. And I have a couple of them. The full size, this is the WE. These do not have trademarks, but it does have a nice, you know, decent crispy kind of kick to it. Fairly solid. One of these I had to replace the magazine because the base plate came off, which, you know, it happens. But you know, it's held up fairly well. No real complaints, but I do like the trademarks here on this Cybergun one. And like I said, I do like that the M&P9c does match fairly well the Umarex as well. And again, I think aluminum slide, decent feel to it. You know, decent click. It does have the actually functional trigger safety, the same kind of drop safety, two-part trigger that the real M&Ps have, as well as those trademarks. And there's also, you know, there's CO2 versions out there, there's non-blowback versions that have full trademarks, which would be a great alternative to dummy guns. If you can't get a rubber one, just get a really cheap one that you don't mind throwing around. That's not bad as well. But yeah, gas blowbacks are definitely a great option to have. You know, we want to be able to swap back and forth. There's a lot of things that, a lot of times when a director's going to want that muzzle flash and the ejecting casings of a blank fire. But with things like John Wick out there now, everybody wants that kind of close quarters grappling, judo throw, disarm, bang bang. And when you've got any kind of wrestling over a firearm, when you've got point blank shots, you don't want to be using a loaded blank gun. It's just not safe. You know, the chances of something going off at a bad time and the consequences if it does go off too close to an actor's face, you don't want to go there. It's, you know, it doesn't matter how good the shot is if you have to recast the role because your actor is disfigured and is suing you. So there's really no point. But these gas blowbacks, you know, rubber would be my first choice for any kind of stunt or grappling, but if you need to be able to fire from it, which, again, is kind of the trademark style of this new aesthetic that we're getting from John Wick and some of the other things that are trying to be like that. You know, you've got to be able to throw the guy down, do a couple of shots there, do another shot there, someone else comes up, right? You're shooting from the hip while they're right on top of you with their broken glass bottle or whatever it is. So that means that there's really no chance, as we get the long cut aesthetic as well, thanks to things like Daredevil and Raid, You know, I love those aesthetically as a choreographer. They're sometimes a pain in the butt to shoot, but that means that we don't have a chance to swap out props as easily between the ones that are firing and the ones that we're wrestling with and beating people with. Gas blowback is kind of the one that is closest to firing that I'm comfortable doing that stuff with. Because if it does go off, you know, I wouldn't want it to go off right in someone's eyes or ears just because of the pressure. There is some gas coming off. But it is just gas. You know, it's not gonna do serious damage. Might puff your hair a little bit or something. But, you know, if I have to do a back of the head shot up close or something, this is gonna be my go-to of choice. Yeah, you can get electric blowback ones, but they tend to sound a little goofy. You can hear the motor. They tend to not be as crisp. Gas blowback's gonna be a lot better. So there's a lot of times when, you know, provided nobody's done anything asinine like actually try and load a BB in it, this one I actually decided to, I think I mentioned earlier on one, they're all a little different. This one, what I did was pull the spring rather than the follower because the follower was kind of a little too hard to get at and I didn't want to screw things up. The spring was easy to just yank out. So that means that you couldn't really load BBs in this and have it feed. But it still functions properly as a gas magazine, which is what you need for it to be able to cycle. So, you know, as long as nobody loads anything in there, those are relatively safe in as much as you're going to get. Do not mess with blanks up close. Do not wrestle over a loaded blank gun. Bad idea. I recently shared on the Facebook page for the Theatrical Firearms Handbook a casting thing that someone sent me from an LA-based stunt coordinator. A cold email they got from someone who's like, I was born to do movies, I've been doing martial arts all the time, and I'm willing to get shot. He said several times, you know, shoot me in a non-lethal area with a small caliber. That was something that he was almost eager to do. None of us want to mess with that stuff. That's a bad idea, trust me. And if you see somebody who's at that level of crazy, you don't want to work with them. You don't want to go anywhere near them because there's just an accident waiting to happen and a lawsuit waiting to happen, and you don't want to be a part of that. So having the ability to swap out between the gas blowbacks and the blanks and the rubbers and everything, great options to have. And the M&P is increasingly popular. You know, they're used some for police departments, very popular for concealed carry in the civilian market. So for what I do with props rentals, it's great because it'll work for a lot of different characters, a lot of different looks. And the fact that it has some that are in a similar family and will therefore sometimes work in the same holsters, sometimes even with the same magazines between the compact and the full size. That's also a bit of a bonus for me as an armorer as well. And I love that they have the standard rail that lets you accessorize them however you might want as well. So that's it for me for today. As always, you can subscribe, like, comment, email me, let me know what you're interested in seeing. I might be trying to comment on some of the great entertainment we've got out now. That was one area I haven't gotten into much yet, but we've got a lot of great content hitting the market. We've got Punisher Season 2 just hit Netflix. Tom Williams did some great work on the stunts on that, as always. The Jack Ryan Amazon series, a lot of SAG-AFTRA viewers are watching that now because we've got our screener copies and the SAG Awards are coming up. John Wick 3 trailer just hit the internet. You know, there's a lot of good gun content out there. Strike Back, there's a new season of that coming out in a little bit. So a lot of good firearms related content. And if you're interested, that's another thing I could maybe explore and just kind of look into some of the pros and cons of sort of the theatrical firearms gun geek side of those shows. But as always, you know, I welcome feedback. I'm here to do what people are interested in seeing, so let me know. And as always, stay safe, look good, and I'll see you next time.